welcome to another episode of the Sista-Cousins Candid Conversations podcast, episode number 40. Today we are talking about polyamory. Yes, polyamory. For those of you who do not understand or know what polyamory is, it is the practice of engaging in multiple romantic and typically sexual relationships with the consent of all people involved. Okay, let's just let us say we ain't know nothing about this until the Red Table Talk popped up on my Facebook page. So at first, polygamy, polyamory, they all sound the same to me, but there is a difference between polyamory and polygamy. Today we're talking about polyamory. And I came across Red Table Talk, Jada Pinkett Smith, Willow Smith, and Miss, what they call it, Gabby, Adrienne Norris, I think her name is Jada's mom. Willow Smith is practicing and have been studying polyamory for quite some time. And so this was a very interesting Red Table Talk. And so I brought the idea to my Sista-Cousins, and we decided like this is something interesting and very weird to me.
And me.
It's very different. So we just gonna dive right on in. Okay, how it started was Willow Smith basically stated within this Red Table Talk that the history of marriage irks her. I'm like, what? I don't know if it's this life that she's lived with her parents and maybe things that they have gone through their marriage, or this, her whole Hollywood friends and that whole lifestyle. I'm not sure. But however, the history of marriage irks her. And so she was introduced to polyamory in a friend group of hers. And she came about to understanding what it was. And she thinks that this is the way for her because it allows her to create a relationship style that works for her. So it's a whole lot. They had guests on the show. There was a young woman who her name is, let me tell you what her name is, Gabby Smith. And she practices solo polyamory, which means she has multiple partners and none are more important than the other. So in this Red Table Talk, Miss Gabby has a platonic life partner, a sexual partner, and a boyfriend. And check this out. Her boyfriend has a wife. And check this out. The wife has a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And they all cool with this big old orgy. That's what I call it. However, in all fairness, they did state that because you are in relationship with someone does not necessarily mean that it is sexual. Because Gabby Smith's, and I'm calling her Gabby because that's what they call her on the show. Her name is Gabrielle. Gabby's platonic life partner is a female partner. And she is really a friend, but she said that she had the most intimate relationship with her friend out of all the relationships that she had. They did attempt to engage in sexual contact one time, but it didn't work and they was off of it. So she jokingly calls this young woman her wife because they're the closest relationship. So said all that. It's a whole lot of stuff going on. Okay. I'm not judging. I don't want anybody to think that we're judging. I'm not judging, right? Because let's just be honest. How many times, ladies, maybe in your marriages or your relationships with your boyfriends, they get on your nerve and you wish if you can piece you together a man, take this from this guy and this from this guy, then you had a perfect guy. Now, if polyamory wasn't anti-scripture, I might be in a polyamorous relationship with Odell Beckham Jr., Plies, and my husband. You know what I'm saying? My husband loves me unconditionally for who I am. Plies is like, we just kind of sit down and we can just be joking and laughing and have a good old time like regular folks. And then Odell Beckham Jr., he just real nice eye candy. Ugh. So anywho, you might have, your high school boyfriend who, loves you unconditionally. You've been with him forever. You may find an old man that's a sugar daddy. He taking care of paying your bills. You might find homeboy from the hood that puts it down in the bedroom. So, it ain't that weird if you kind of break it down like that. However, it goes against what is natural, what is spiritual, what is scriptural. So it's just a little weird for me. Juju, what you want to say about this?
I just first of all, I just want to say I've never heard of this before my whole entire life until my cousin sent this to me. I think the whole thing is just completely weird. It's ridiculous to me. I mean, relationships are hard enough, and then you're adding additional people to it. It's absolutely crazy to me. I am the type of person that I know I could not be in this type of environment because for me, I don't like to share. And it's like, I'm not, it would not work for me. I mean, as soon as, whoever I was with, my life partner or whatever, my husband said he was going some other place, there would be an issue with me, with him and her. But I'm like, I don't understand this. To me, this is just skirting around the whole commitment thing. It's like, you just free out there. And it's just, to me, it's dangerous. I mean, I feel like this is dangerous because you never know when this other person is going to invite somebody else in. You don't know nothing about this person. I just think it's completely, yeah. No, I just couldn't.
So they did talk about, okay, so in a monogamous relationship or marriage, right, there are rules. You can't do this. You shouldn't do that. Don't do this. Well, in a polyamorous relationship, they talk about boundaries. There are certain boundaries that cross. Gabby's boyfriend, the married guy, he stated that currently he was only in a relationship with his wife, Bridget was her name, and Gabby. But once COVID is over, he is interested in pursuing other relationships not so intimate. So you basically trying to bone somebody. you want to bone some other people, because he stated that he didn't want those extra relationships to be on the same level as the one he has with his wife or Gabby. And so Miss Adrienne kept stating, like, I don't understand this. I don't get it. It just sounds like it's all centered around sex. And they all tried to say that it wasn't just about sex. So to me, then, unless this relationship is sexual, why can't this person just be your friend? Why do they have to be in a relationship with you? I just don't get it. And so Miss Adrienne asked, like, what do you get? Like, what does this do for me or whatever? And I think Willow was like, she asked a question if she could imagine loving everyone in their group equally, and her response was no. But Willow says, well, I don't know what to tell you. Well, you didn't say anything. You didn't explain to your grandmother what this relationship did for you. It was almost, it started to sound like it was anti-marriage and anti-monogamous relationships, but they wanted to clear it up. Jada stated that it wasn't a how did she say? It wasn't a bash on it wasn't about changing the paradigm of monogamous relationships or marriage. It was just finding a different relationship style that worked for other people. And another example that Willow gave was, if she was a person who didn't necessarily need sex all the time, but she was in relationship with somebody who did, was it fair to keep that person from receiving what they needed? So you're basically saying, look, I don't like to have sex all the time, and I'm cool with you going to get some from Kathy down the street or whatever. And so it was just, this whole thing to me, it just weird. And they did talk about being jealous. Okay. I'm like Joanna. My husband talking about, hey, I'm staying over Denise's house tonight. I'll see you tomorrow. Nah, bro. They even brought on an expert on how to deal with jealousy, and they turned it around, basically saying that if you have these type of jealous feelings, you need to reevaluate yourself. and I guess it makes sense if you're going to be involved in those type relationships. It just seems very unnatural to me. It did make sense when Willow stated, like, okay, you're born, you go to school, you go to college, you get married, you have kids, you have the white picket fence. These are the things that society states is supposed to happen, and basically once you reach these things, you should be fulfilled. But a lot of people are have these things happen in their life, but they're still left yet unfulfilled. Now, the first thing I thought about was obviously, they didn't have a relationship with the Lord. To me, that was just my thought or whatever. Because if you feel that those things, what society says you should have, doesn't fulfill you, what makes you think that having multiple partners, whether they're sexual or non-sexual, is going to fulfill
fill that void?
Yeah, like it just didn't make sense to me. But
and that's my other thing. I kind of feel like the reason why, and I could be wrong, but the reason why individuals are in these type of relationships is because they're looking for something that only God can give. They're trying to fill a void that only God can fill. So it's just disturbing to me that someone would even consider this. I mean, that's just my personal opinion on this. Just like I said, I feel like it takes the whole thing about commitment. I mean, as a wife, as a woman, I want someone who respects me enough to say, I am committed to you and you only. I don't understand how anyone can say, oh, you can be committed to me and, multiple other people, and that's fine. I don't get that. I cannot wrap my mind around those type of relationships. So it's just weird to me. It's weird to me. I don't understand it. I have to be honest. I don't understand it.
So let me ask you this, because I'm trying to be fair in my thought process and trying to rationalize what they feel. Do you believe that one individual can provide all the things that you need in a relationship? Is it possible that there's one person who can fulfill all of your needs, wants, and desires?
As I said before, I think that in reality, what you should have is two complete people coming into a relationship. You shouldn't be looking for anybody to fill those empty spaces 100%. You have to be confident, content in yourself, and have those things addressed before you find that other person. Now, don't get me wrong, that person is supposed to add additional things to your life. I believe you're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to have that friend. You're supposed to have that, that friendship, that relationship with them. But if you're expecting another person to make you complete, I think that that's where the problem lies. You should already be complete before you even enter into a relationship, in my opinion. So I don't know. Just as I said, I think that yes, your spouse, your significant other should bring something to your relationship. However, I don't think you should ever look to someone else to be complete.
So speaking about completion or a relationship and filling it, in Ecclesiastes 4:12, it says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So it's the husband, the wife, and God in those 3 strands or whatever. So if the term you want to use a complete person, so you have the husband and the wife, and God completes that triune. And so, nobody is perfect. And that it goes back to having that relationship with God and, you praying and making sure that you're ready, to be a wife or to be a husband, and God, helping you to find that person that be with you. And so there's a whole lot of things I think that we could talk about or uncover here, or, go deep into the Bible. We're not trying to preach. I ain't trying to preach to nobody today or whatever. However, I think it was ironic because Jada stated that she admired the relationship of Justin and Hailey Bieber. And the reason that they are as tight as they are, or, kind of how they were drawn to each other, because they both are, keeping Christ first. Like they want Christ in their life. And so it was just kind of weird for her to admire them for that reason, when if it's about Christ, it's anti-scripture, right? So it was just kind of like, it was kind of weird for her to admire that part about their relationship when and be okay and cool with this polyamorous lifestyle. It just kind of, to me, didn't, match up or whatever. And for those of you who maybe, when we keep talking about scripture or whatever, obviously, if Gabby is in a relationship with a married man, that married man is committing adultery. Gabby is committing adultery and fornication because she's single. And then it's just so many moving parts. And so obviously adultery, fornication, sex outside of marriage, all of that is anti-scripture. And so for me, just those thoughts alone, I mean, and let me put a disclaimer. I have not always been a saved, Holy Ghost filled Christian, okay? I had a daughter at age 21. I didn't get married until age 24. And we ain't going to even talk about before 21, okay? So let me put that out there. I'm not judging nobody because LaWanda has lived some life, okay? I'm not judging anybody. I'm just talking about my own personal relationship and what I believe as far as scripture. And so for those of you who, may be trying to comfort me, here's some scriptures for you guys that talks about marriage, relationships, and fornication and adultery. Ephesians 5:25, just simply, for husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church. Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. You don't say cleave to his group, but cleave to his wife, okay? Ecclesiastes 4:12, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Mark 10:9, therefore what God has joined together, let no one separate, okay? Ephesians 5:25-33, Galatians 5:19 talks about works of the flesh. Deuteronomy 5:18, thou shalt not kill, steal, blah, 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 blah. So there are so many scriptures that is anti what this polyamorous thing is. And like I said, and all in fun, we've all thought about like, oh, my spouse makes me sick. He gets on my nerve, or I asked him to do this and he's not willing to do that. Or I asked her to do this. And, if we can put our perfect person together, we probably wouldn't be with people. If they can put their perfect person together, we probably wouldn't be with them either or whatever. So this is just something that was super weird to me. Like I said, I got it confused with polygamy. That's when I'm saying one man have a gazillion wives and they're submissive to only him, versus polyamorous. Everybody agrees upon the boundaries of their relationships, and that can change at any time, right? There is no rule that says I can't, have another partner or another friend or whatever. Another thing that this husband said, he and the wife, the relationship, she's like, because he's just did it. And, just for example, if, we had a date and he couldn't keep the date, I know that he's up to me. I'm like, girl, if we had a date and he was over there with Tiffany and he called and say he was going to be late or just didn't show up, it would be a problem. So I just can't do it. I don't know if it's jealousy, crazy, or what. I just couldn't do it. But to me, I'm like, yeah, you ain't pissed off because you over there with your boyfriend. So he over there with Gabby, you over there with Bill. Everybody, this just sounds real nasty and gross. But they did also talk about health. Now, they didn't say whether they were using protection, but the health of themselves and their partners were of the utmost importance. So, I don't know. It just sounds like a lot of doctor's appointments to me. Juices and berries mixed together.
I kind of wish we had somebody on here who either knows about this subject or has been in these type of relationships, because just say I don't understand it. Just say I think it's very dangerous, especially in this day and age. I think it's a work of the flesh. I mean, we have become a society where we just want what we want. There's no discipline. There's no boundaries anymore. It's just, if I see it, I want it, I'll have it. And it's like, I feel like for me, that is a dangerous situation to put yourself in. So I wish I had someone on here who's been through this or could kind of shed some light, on, why they chose this particular lifestyle, because to me, it is something that is very, very weird to me to say. I cannot even wrap my mind around this, knowing how hard it is just to have one relationship, let alone trying to maintain multiple ones. I mean, I literally don't see how they do it. I just don't.
But maybe that's part of So in your one relationship where, you know, it's hard to maintain you outlet, right? Because you're committed, you're monogamous to this one person. If you have multiple partners, whatever the issue could be, maybe it could be fulfilled through another partner. And one thing that I want to point out that they kept pointing out was that in general, people believe that polyamorous relationships is strictly white people, and it's not. There was Gabby is an African American girl, and then there was another young woman who grew up in a strict religious household where they made her sign a purity, some kind of purity form, go through a program. And so she was new to the polyamory lifestyle. And then there was an Asian woman who came on, and she was like, I love, the panel of people, because it's always understood that this is a white thing, and it's not. There's a lot of people, of color into this relationship. Danya actually sent us an article from Madame Noir, Black and Polyamorous. So you guys can check that out, madamenoir.com, Black and Polyamorous. Also, is this Red Table Talk is on Facebook, but I don't know. To me, if it's not sexual, if you're not trying to gain permission to be able to sleep with whomever you want, if you have partners who are not sexual partners, why do you have to label them other than friend? If you have a confidant that you can talk to, a girlfriend that that you really, why can't she just be your friend? Why does it have to be some type of intimate relationship? I have a best friend. I got some friends I had since second grade. We don't kiss, in any intimate way. I mean, I've told them secrets, and I feel that we're close, but never thought about them in a romantic type of way. It just seems very unnatural to me. And I don't know if maybe it wouldn't seem as weird if there were rules to it, but then the rules become unfair. So, for example, earlier in the podcast, I joked about if I would be in a polyamorous relationship, it would be with Odell Beckham Jr., Plies, and my husband. But I could tell my husband, I'm gonna be with these other guys, but you can't be with anybody else. I mean, to me, that's the only beneficial way that will work for me. I get to have what I want, but you can't have what you want, and that that wouldn't be fair. So those rules, I guess they talked about, there are no rules, they're just boundaries, and they talk about what those boundaries are, and those boundaries can change at any moment. So I'm not good with change like that on the fly. If I'm used to a certain thing, I want that to be consistent so I can know what to expect. But if you throw a monkey wrench, it doesn't matter whether we talk about it. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. So that just wouldn't work for me or whatever. And Willow was really quick to say, well, all of these things happen in monogamous relationships. So really, what's the difference? There are expectations, I believe, in a monogamous relationship. I expect you to, only be faithful to me. I expect you to be home for dinner at 7, every night. I expect you, but if we have boundaries and not rules in these multi-relationships, what can you really expect anything from anybody? Can you really depend on what a person is going to say? Because anything can change on the fly. And so I'm just not with that.
Having said that, to the comment that she made about, monogamous relationships or marriages in general, I also think you need to look at, the circumstance. I'm not saying everybody's perfect. I'm not saying that only married people do this or that. That's not what I'm saying. But I also think we as people need to be a little bit more responsible about who we allow ourselves to get in relationships with. Because some of these relationships, these people were this way prior to us getting with them. So it should be no shock when, they become unfaithful or they do something that, they've always done. But I think, that is another thing, is you have to be very careful about who you decide to enter into a relationship with. And we need to take that more seriously too, because I think that affects too a lot of what's going on. I mean, if I think about when I was in my 20s or whatever, my level of requirements was not the same as when I was in my 30s, you know? So, you know, I look back on it and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you know, what was I thinking back then, you know? So I think, you know, we have a big part to play in that too. And just like I said, yes, there are several people who get into relationships and, you know, they are done wrong and it's no fault of their own. And I understand that. But I do think, you know, when you enter into relationships, you also have to be very careful about who you allow to be in that space, you know, who you allow to, you know, to make a marriage partner with, because it is that important. And that's why, in my opinion, you need God to show you whether or not this person is supposed to be involved in your life in any type of way. And just say, I have not always been saved either. And I look at the relationship I had before Christ and relationships after. And, you know, I thank God that I did eventually, you know, surrender and allow God to have his way in my life, because I was just on some other stuff. I was making decisions that was not benefiting me, you know, my family, my future family. I mean, just crazy stuff, because I was thinking in my own thoughts, you know, what I thought was right and what, you know, just like I said, I mean, God's ways are good. His, you know, the one question that I always get from people is that, you know, well, if I get saved or this, then I got to change. I got to be this. I got to stop this. But what I'm finding out, the longer that I've been saved, the more that I get into the word, is that these things are put into place for a reason. He's not trying to take any fun away from you. He's trying to save your life, you know. He's trying to prevent you from doing.
Lord knows I should be dead and sleeping in my grave.
Right. And it's like, I think about all the places and positions I have put myself in, and thank God I'm still here today, you know, fine, and everything's okay. Because when I think about, you know, some of the decisions I made in the past, they were not good decisions at all. So I don't know. Just to say, as for me, I've been there, done that, got 18 t-shirts. I'm not going back. You know, I don't know. This would not work for me. And just like I said, I wish there was someone out there who could kind of give me some insight to this, because this is just really weird to me. I'm thinking, how could anybody be okay with this? For me, it's also a respect issue. I respect myself so much to say, I will not let you have multiple people. I am special enough for you to be with just me and me only. I'm not going to accept you in 10 other people. That's not going to work for me. So I don't know. It's just weird to me.
So, well, one thing I want to, Willow stated that, I don't know if she got any statistics or she was just talking out the side of her head based on what she's seen. She said most marriages end in divorce because of infidelity. Now, you, me, everybody listening, or anybody listening knows somebody who got divorced or whatever because somebody cheated. We get that. However, a quick Google search on wf.lawyers.com. These are individual levels. These are people who got divorced. These were the individual reasons why. 75% said lack of commitment. 59.6% was because of infidelity. 57.7% was too much conflict and arguing. 45.1% was married too young. 36.1% financial problems, 34.6% was substance abuse, and 23.5% was domestic violence. So I think what she was trying to convey, I mean, we talk about having multiple people. Basically, people are cheating in relationships, and you don't call it cheating because you know about it in your polyamorous relationship. Still cheating, boo. I'm saying it ain't only you. So whether you agree with it or not, I guess, does it make it better? I mean, I think I remember being young and stupid in a relationship with some fools or whatever. If you just tell me, that ain't gonna make my hurt less because you tell me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seems, like I said, unnatural. It seems like you're making excuses not to be in a monogamous relationship. And then especially for Willow, it's like she stated that she has the least sex out of all of her friends. Now, are they having a whole bunch of sex and she just having a little bit of sex, or she really ain't having no sex and they just having sex? I don't know. The point is, if you are not engaging in sexual relationship, why do you have to be in a relationship with multiple people? Why would you even put yourself at risk for anything being in relationship with multiple people, because you're going to trust that a 20-year-old Billy is going to tell you the honest, the God truth about everything. Girl, bye. Nah, boo. Just because you know doesn't make it right. Okay, just because your partner know doesn't make it. Just, to me, I'm like Miss Adrian. This just sounds like sex centered. If it ain't about sex, you just need to find you a partner. Wait on the God to send you to somebody and be committed to that person. Because if you're committed, if you could be committed to a group of people, why can't you be committed to one person? Like, it just, because you have the freedom to change it. I guess that's, you have the freedom. Okay, this ain't working for me no more. I want to do something different. And you got to be in agreement with it. And then if you don't, I'm just gonna drop it from the circle. It just doesn't make sense for me. So I don't get it. The more I think about it, I'm like,
yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it's a they're trying to bypass the whole commitment thing. They want their cake and eat it too. I don't want to have to make a commitment to anybody. I don't want to have to uphold to, these standards. I want to do what I want to do, and I want everybody to agree with it. And I can't. It wouldn't work for me. It would not work for me.
Yeah, it would work. Listen, this is fun. If my husband said, "Hey, look here, I'm thinking about polyamory. What you think?" Listen, if you could get Plies and Odell Beckham to call me, we put this on a trial run for a little bit, right? The moment he say he gonna be in a relationship with somebody else, never mind. I don't know. Am I a jealous person? I get. Listen, I don't want no other cat licking on my meat. Okay, I just don't.
Oh, Lord. Really? Really
okay, I don't want nobody else. I just nah. I'm cool with me being able to do whatever, but I don't want my mate to do. You know what I mean? It's call it selfishness or whatever. My best friend told me I was selfish. I said that if I die, I want my husband to die too. I want him just get in the casket and die with me, because it ain't fair that he just get to go on with his life and be happy with somebody else and I'm dead. Like, I want him to want to die too. And she said,
"You selfish."
I'm for real.
Like, man, live. You ain't here no more.
I said, he be happy and I'm dead. Like, this just don't make no sense to me.
Oh, so yeah, you got some issues. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't like it on either side. I can't imagine ever doing that to someone that I'm with, and I can't imagine someone doing that to me. And it's like, it just wouldn't work for me, because it's so weird. It's like I can't wrap my mind around any of that.
Algernon, call me. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Well, I don't know. What about you guys? If you are looking at this now, or you happen to watch this in the future, leave your thoughts and comments below. Or if you know somebody who's in a polyamorous relationship, have them email us at sistercousinsunite@gmail.com, because I'm just curious to see how to, I got some real questions. They doing it for their show. I got some real questions. I want to know, so has this ever happened? What do you feel about this? And give them some scenarios to think about. I'm just curious to understand it. However, I do understand that, maybe you feel that, one person couldn't fulfill what you need from a relationship. And again, that may be a you issue, not a relationship issue. Maybe a God issue. Maybe it's something that you do need to, research and find on your own, or, seek a relationship with God for him to maybe help reveal some things to you. But I'm super curious to hear some real down and dirty information as to why this works or whatever. You got anything else, Juju?
It's a thumbs down for me. I can't.
You can't do it.
Yeah, it's not for me. And I just say, anybody else out there, what you do is your business, but for me, this would not work. It's wrong on all levels, in my opinion. And I just, it won't work for me.
On that note, we're gonna say, hey, peace and hair grease. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.